Welcome to the College Football Bros. I'm Ryan Newman.
I'm Michael Newman.
And I'm Trey Newman.
All right, we are in our third conference now of our QB ranking season, and we're on to the Big Ten. A lot of new names and new faces in this quarterback kind of conference here. So I'm interested to see Trey's rankings. He's the guy that did the rankings here. So we'll give Michael and I will give our opinions on Trey's rankings. But I imagine this one was pretty tough with all the new faces. So Trey, why don't you go ahead and get us started with number 14?
Yeah, I had a tough time with this list, but number 14, we've got Taven Jackson of Indiana. Fun fact, he's the brother of Trace Jackson Davis, who started on the Hoosiers basketball team. Nice. But I'm just not super high on.
Why isn't he not Jackson Davis?
Ryan, I didn't get
into the family.
I did
history?
get into the family tree. I just realized that he was the brother,
half brother, or what is he?
I did dig in, but
okay.
Didn't go on Ancestry. But yeah, no, I'm just not super high on the Hoosiers right now. Actually, I probably would have been a little bit higher with their quarterback if it was Dexter Williams' job, but he got injured at the end of last year. So he's still kind of recovering from a knee injury. Maybe he comes back this year and elevates him. Jackson, we just don't have any data points. He's a Tennessee transfer, basically no game action. I think he's thrown 4 passes or something, but he is a 4-star prospect. So there's some talent. So we'll see if the Hoosiers, they only have 2 Power 5 wins the last 2 years. So I need to see some more on the field.
One of them's got to be Nebraska. Got to be.
It was not. It was.
I don't know if we played them. Maybe last year.
We beat them last year.
Yeah, you're right. We did.
All right. Number 13, I've got Ben Bryant of Northwestern. And personally, I don't think Ben Bryant is terrible. I think he improves the floor of this offense. I actually would have had him higher on this list if kind of the mess that's going on right now in the program with Fitzgerald and all that wasn't going on, because the dust still hasn't settled on all that. We don't know who they're all going to trot out there on the field next year. We don't know what the personnel is going to look like. But Bryant himself, he threw for 2,700 yards, 21 touchdowns last year for Cincinnati. Pretty respectable. And it's a big upgrade, in my opinion, from what the Wildcats have shown recently. It's been pretty pathetic on offense.
Yeah, that was interesting. Ben Bryant, I probably would have put him a spot or 2 higher.
I would have had him a few slots higher. That's one of my disagreements with your list.
But
that's totally
I kind
fair.
of get your Northwestern punishment.
That was my angle. I think he's good, but I just
that offense is so bad that you're probably going to look smarter by just having him low.
Exactly.
I wouldn't be mad with him higher, but I was looking at the program. So, all right, getting to number 12, another kind of poor program recently, or I guess historically, Rutgers, Gavin Wimsatt. Evan Simon also in the room with experience, but Wimsatt, he's the hope that they're clinging to. He's a 4-star talent, definitely inefficient last year, 5 touchdown passes, 7 picks. But you got to factor in Rutgers as a whole struggled. He reclassified, so he was still a little young. He was constantly getting pressured. So I think a little bit of the experience will help. They're also bringing in Kirk Soraka as offensive coordinator, which I think will be a big upgrade over Sean Gleason. Just the challenge, of course, for him is, is there enough help around him to help him get higher on this list and make Rutgers more competitive?
I hope so, man. I want Rutgers to be decent.
I do too.
I like Rutgers.
Number 11, we've got Noah Kim of Michigan State. Very difficult to rank here. Hauser is also in the mix, but I think
any relation to the Joey Hauser?
I didn't go through all the relationships
of
these guys, but actually Noah Kim is Lil Kim's son. No, I'm dating myself for
yeah, exactly.
So, but it's been a tough off season. We kind of for some of these programs, but for Sparty, Peyton Thorne transferred out. Yeah. Surprisingly, then their best receiver, Keon Coleman,
that really
decided to transfer to Florida State. Kim didn't play a ton, but when he did, he played pretty well. 14 and 19, 3 touchdowns, not against the greatest competition, but at least he showed something on the field. Yeah. He's a 4th-year guy, so he's been a part of the program, isn't totally raw. The offensive coordinator, Jay Johnson, has also praised his run game ability too. So don't love the Michigan State situation, but I think Kim is serviceable at least.
Yeah, agree with that.
All right, number 10. Luke Altmaier of Illinois. Now we're starting to get to some teams that have, were a little better last year. Donovan Leary, the redshirt freshman, and Ball State transfer John Paddock are also vying here, but I think it's Altmaier. He's got the highest upside. He was in competition for the Ole Miss job, but Jackson Dart took it. He's another guy, a 4-star pedigree. But what we did see at Ole Miss, he was just a 50% passer, 3 touchdowns, 3 picks. He does have the experience of learning under a good offensive mind in Lane Kiffin. And then at Illinois, I like Barry Lunney as their offensive coordinator. He did well at Texas San Antonio. When he took over as offensive coordinator last year, the quarterback position really did improve the most as far as unit over unit, year over year with Tommy DeVito. I guess a downgrade here is they lose one of the best running backs in the country. They had Chase Brown.
He was awesome.
That could hurt the offense. But maybe, Juice Williams 2.0 on the outside could really break out and help make Altmaier be his primary weapon and elevate Altmaier higher on this list.
Chase Brown's a big loss. That guy was tough. He was a very, very good running back.
Yeah, I think this was a fair spot for Altmaier because he's got more potential, I think, than
they'll have a good defense too, so you won't have to do much. Their defensive line it's
still
very,
good.
Very good.
Yep. All right, number 9, Ethan Kaliakmanis from Minnesota. So Tanner Morgan is finally gone. I mean, he's been on our list for a decade, but Kaliakmanis, he played a lot last year. He ended up starting 5 games, broke out late in the Wisconsin, their rivalry game, threw for over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, was in their bowl win against Syracuse. Didn't have to throw it a ton due to the circumstances, but he was 7 of 9 there. The one knock on him, though, in his first year, he was inconsistent. He finished the year with 3 touchdowns and 4 picks. So PJ Fleck brought in a new co-offensive coordinator to kind of help the quarterback room there. They didn't ask him to do a whole lot, but I'm really interested to see him, when they give him the full reins this season, to see what that offense looks like. He was a tough one.
Yeah, and they do lose their stud running back, Ibrahim. That'll be interesting.
Right.
That's tough.
All right. Getting to number 8, Jeff Sims of Nebraska, the Georgia Tech transfer. I mean, he was highly regarded when he went to Georgia Tech. It's hard to look at Sims and kind of totally judge him what we saw just because of, he was pretty much thrown to the wolves, in my opinion, as they transitioned offensive scheme from Paul Johnson's offense to a more traditional one. He threw a lot of picks, but again, maybe not all his fault as he was trying to make plays under pressure. He is a big threat with his feet. He's an elite athlete there, rushed for over 1,000 yards in his career. And he made a good enough impression on Matt Rule's staff, because the incumbent starter, Casey Thompson, was there, decided to transfer out. So that's a positive sign if you're a Nebraska fan. So maybe if you're looking for optimism, maybe a fresh start, a new environment could help Sims because maybe he still has the potential in there. I guess my concern with Nebraska is I'm a little worried about their offensive coordinator, Marcus Satterfield, potentially maybe limiting him. Just not wildly in love with his track record. But Sims is he could be one of those guys all or nothing here on this list.
Yeah, I think him being 8th, I don't have a problem with it. I don't, but I think him being 8th says more about the lack of depth in the Big Ten at the quarterback position than it does about him. Because I think that's a pretty weak number 8. He was a big recruit, but he really on the field, maybe somewhat understandably given the surrounding talent, but he just hasn't shown much. So I think it's a pretty weak number 8.
I agree. It's hard to say, but I agree.
Yeah, honestly, I think we're starting to get to this point where I still think this list kind of is not good at all yet. It's just not a good list. It's Cade McNamara. He's certainly an upgrade here at number 7 from what Iowa has rolled out previously. I don't discount that. He led Michigan to a Big Ten title and a playoff a couple years ago. But when you look at it, he didn't really light it up that year. He was just kind of stable. A lot of the success that Michigan had was thanks to that great defense with Hutchinson and Ajabo on the D line. He lost his job to JJ McCarthy last year. And when you look at Iowa, of course, your concern has to be Brian Ferentz. What can this offense do?
Yeah. Got to
it's
get
also
25 points per game, baby.
It's also, yeah, I know. It's his third offensive coordinator in 3 seasons. He does bring, Eric All transfers in from Michigan as well at tight end. That could help. There are some like decent,
they should be better
talent players there.
Yeah.
Like they should be better, but I'll believe it when I see it, sort of deal. So he has leadership qualities, should improve the offense. But again, I just want to see it to believe it with Ferentz.
They've been so bad. Of course, they're going to be a little better, but can they actually be, good enough to really compete? Like, I mean, the defense has been great, so thankfully that they don't have to have a great offense. But I mean, man,
all right.
Does the offense change? Does Ferentz go different? Like, because he knows he's got a target number to get to? Like,
I think I think the pace
air raid, pass it out. Like, who cares?
Well, I don't know about that.
Quick tempo.
I think the tempo will maybe quicken up a little bit, and I think the offense will be significly better because I think McNamara brings a level of competency. But he's fine. He's not like
okay. In the Big Ten, what offense are they? Are they number?
Dude, you can't throw me at this without. You can't. I mean, I gotta do some research on that one.
Yeah.
Well, they were 13th last year or 14th? Who was worse, Northwestern?
Well, what are we just talking in terms of what? Like, what are you asking to rank how good the offense is? How? What? Sorry.
Goodness.
Okay, because they the style they play. They're not
They
don't have to put up the total yards or whatever. Like,
right.
It's, efficient. However effective they are.
They should be like. You look at some of the guys they have. They should be decent, but they're just.
Can they beat out like 4 other teams? Can they beat out Indiana, Northwestern, Rutgers, and one other team?
Yeah.
Maybe Rutgers, maybe Purdue struggles.
So last year they were probably 13th in the Big Ten.
Northwestern, yeah.
Rutgers being the worst, actually. By at least the metric I'm looking at here. I'm just looking at ESPN's efficiency metric, not gospel, but good enough.
Yeah.
I think they. So you said a good line there. I think they can jump to 10th.
10th, okay.
Maybe they'll pass up Northwestern, Indiana,
and Rutgers. Or sorry, they already passed Rutgers, but Northwestern, Indiana. Okay.
And that would get them
one more.
So you have a 7th best quarterback, kind of like one of the.
Somebody's got to struggle, whether it's
Nebraska,
Purdue, Nebraska, Illinois. Those are the possibilities, I think. Purdue, Nebraska, Illinois, because I think Minnesota could find a way to be all right.
Speaking of Purdue, you mentioned them. I have at number 6.
Okay, go ahead, Trey. Sorry.
No, I was just I'm getting to Purdue here. So I've got Hudson Card. Now, part of this ranking for me is I kind of like Hudson Card. I don't love the situation at Purdue with them losing a lot. Of course, they lose Jeff Brom. But at Texas, like Card played pretty well there. He just juggled time with Quinn Ewers last year. Ewers ended up taking over, but like he threw 11 touchdowns, 2 picks, 65% completions as a Longhorn. He was a 4-star. Graham Harrell's the new offensive coordinator. Some like him, some don't, but little checkered results. But I'm just a little optimistic that they're going to match. Those 2 guys will match well enough to outperform some of the other guys on my list. But like if you had Hudson Card a little lower, I would not be upset with you.
I'm okay with it just because of like system and expectations. I don't think Purdue's going to be very good, but I don't think it's going to be Hudson Card's fault. I think the new coach and the new system, they lose a ton of talent around them. So if you put, some of these other guys on this list that were like behind him, I think they'd probably do even worse. I think like Card's okay. I think he's a pretty solid quarterback. Just he's not going into a good situation though.
No. I think neither is Cade McNamara. As well, but no, I like Hudson Card. I think this is a good spot for him. I think it's pretty good.
I'm with you.
Okay, now we're getting to the top 5 here. Number 5 is Tanner Mordecai at Wisconsin. So he's tough to rank given the situation, in my opinion. Like if you're purely basing your ranking on production, then he would probably be like top 3. But just because of what he's done the last couple of years, he's thrown over 3,000 yards each year, has 72 touchdown passes. Like his bugaboo though is efficiency. He's thrown a lot of picks. He supposedly threw 4 picks in their spring game. But I will say he's a clear upgrade, of course, over Graham Mertz. He's got Braylon Allen to hand it off to. The situation, though, is unique. There's a major shift in offense, of course, going from that grounded pound to Phil Longo's more open offense. Will the offensive line be able to adapt to that change quickly? Will Mordecai keep the turnovers down? Obviously, I do think the offense is going to improve, and much of it would probably be Mordecai. But, can he, like I said, can he keep the mistakes down and turn into a top 3 quarterback in the league? We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a little higher on Mordecai. I would have him at least 1 slot higher and maybe 2, but we'll get to those guys.
That's fair. Okay, yeah. So number 4, Drew Aller at Penn State. I'm kind of just bullish on Penn State. I like him. Again, we don't have much to go on, but he's a 5-star sophomore, 6'5", kind of groomed for this. Definitely, the ceiling is a little bit higher than with what you had with Sean Clifford. He appeared in 10 games last year, 4 touchdowns, got his feet wet, has an incredible running back duo with Singleton and Allen to take some of the pressure off of him. A great defense, one of the best defenses in the Big Ten in the country. So it's not going to solely be on his shoulders on the offense. And I'm like I said, I'm kind of high on Penn State. I'm a believer in Aller. I don't see a decline from the Clifford offenses.
I definitely right now would have Mordecai ahead of Aller just because we've seen he's showing a lot of good production from Mordecai. Not perfect, but pretty dang good. And Aller, we just like you said, we just haven't seen much at all. I know he's got the pedigree, but he's got a good offensive line in front of him, gonna have a really good running game, but receiving core, somewhat of a question mark. So yeah, I would need, for me personally, I get you're kind of hedging though because the talent is there. It's so high that he could be great. So I see why you put him there, but I would have him personally.
He was there last year, and Sean Clifford was still the starter.
I wouldn't. That's just my kind of projection optimism there.
Yeah,
coming through. All right, number 3. Talia Tagovailoa, Maryland. He's the most experienced quarterback in the Big Ten. He's set basically every meaningful record at Maryland. He was second team All Big Ten last year. He's put back-to-back strong seasons together. He's compiled 50 total touchdowns, over 3,000 yards both years. He gets sacked a ton, 32 times last year. Some of that's related to the O-line issues they had, but some is obviously related to his style. He, tends to extend plays with his feet. Maryland this year has a little bit of a revamped receiver room, but don't see why, given his talent, can't overcome that. Really, I guess the thing on his legacy that's missing is just that kind of breakthrough upset win. If they could get one of those, that would really kind of stamp him there.
They almost had one. Didn't they almost beat Ohio State that one year with the?
Yeah,
it was I don't know if it was a 2-point conversion or something. There was something. There was. God,
they played him tough. Yeah. So I got Talia there, and then number 2, Kyle McCord of Ohio State. Obviously, this is more of a projection than ranking of production. He's only played sparingly behind C.J. Stroud. But assuming McCord does win the job, you've got a Ryan Day quarterback, which pretty much all those tear it up, put up All-American numbers. Not to mention, he has the best wide receiver room in the country, led by Marvin Harrison Jr., Emeka Egbuka, other guys too, like Julian Fleming. Basically, I feel like I could roll out there and throw for 3,000 yards with these guys. You got great running backs to help, Mayan Williams, Travion Henderson, among others. This is, again, purely projection, but we've seen it every year with the Ohio State quarterback. They churn them out. And then that leads.
Are you going to have
any disagreement there?
No, it's if there's anyone in the comments saying, "Well, what is Kyle McCord? He's proven nothing." It's like, okay, go back to every single one of our, quarterback rankings episodes where there's a new Ohio State quarterback. It's like Justin Fields hadn't proven anything, and Dwayne Haskins hadn't proven anything, and quarterback X's, but they're always great. So, yeah. Hard to argue.
That was my criteria there. And then number 1, J.J. McCarthy of Michigan. Doesn't wow you with the stats all the time, but so far he's a winner. 12-1 as a starter last year, led them to their first victory at Ohio State since 2000. The last 3 games last year, he kind of picked it up too, which is why I'm a little bit more bullish on 2023. In those games, 10 touchdowns. He's a threat with his legs. I mean, in the playoff loss to TCU, he had a career high 343 yards passing, added 52 on the ground. He completed 65% of his passes the first year. They didn't ask him to throw it down the field a ton, but they opened it up a little bit more at the end of the year, especially in the Ohio State game. He's got a lot of help on the ground game, Blake Corum, Donovan Edwards. So it's not always square on his shoulders, and Michigan should be good. So that's why I got McCarthy, because there's still room for him to improve. It was his first year starting last year.
Totally. Yep. Yeah. Wouldn't, I don't have any problem with your top guy there, JJ McCarthy. Ryan, any thoughts on the list overall here?
His conference is not very good right now.
No, they kind of stink.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, Cade McNamara, top half of the Big Ten, which is supposed to be one of the second best conference. Not good. So much unproven players. I mean, Drew Aller at 4 is so unproven. This is not good.
Yeah, it's not ideal.
It's not. Yeah. It's not. Yeah, especially that you look at the right half of your screen, like, I don't know. I mean, there's some potential there, but
JJ McCarthy is number 1. I mean, like, I like McCarthy, but number 1 in the Big Ten, you're talking usually Heisman guys and guys that are put up huge stats, but
yeah. Yeah, like if Kyle McCord does what CJ Stroud and every other Ohio State quarterback has done, then
yeah, he'll put up good numbers, no doubt.
Yeah,
but
then he might, make this list look even better. But yeah, you're right. JJ McCarthy, I would want to see if he's gonna solidify himself as this number 1 here, which I think I would put him there too right now. But it's kind of projecting. All right, put a little more on his shoulders.
Not Andrew Lucky, but like more in like just better numbers in the Harbaugh type of systems. Like, dude, you gotta do better than that. Wow. I mean, I like him. He's good, but
yeah,
for number 1 in the Big Ten, I would expect a little more.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for checking out this episode of the College Football Bros. Our next episode, we will be getting to the Pac-12 before, of course, then the SEC. And finally, we'll be ranking every quarterback in the country. Not every, just the top, what do you say, top 15 guys? I don't know.
Something like that.
133, however many teams there are. But be sure to subscribe so you can check out those episodes, and we'll see you next time.